My brother set me up by telling our parents that I sell illegal substances at my college and I'm doomed, so I got kicked out of the house the same day. 6 years later, I'm getting married and my mother hits me up with bad news. Growing up, my family valued appearances and achievements highly. My mom, Olivia, 57 female, holds a prestigious job at an insurance company and is well respected in her field. My dad, Benjamin, 56 male, is a biology professor and the ideal caring father always there for us. However, everything in our family came with conditions. We had to look and behave perfectly, and perfect was defined by how well we met my parents' expectations. My oldest brother, Isaiah, 30 male, or as everyone called him, Eli, was the definition of their ideal. He's an engineer. He is 4 years older than me, and he was incredibly successful and seemed to deal with life easily. Always getting praised by everyone, receiving awards, and our parents admired him. On the other hand, I was quieter, more reserved, and a bit rebellious. I was smart but preferred to follow my own path. I had interests that did not always align with my parents' idea of success. Well, I was an English major, and they did not exactly like that, but they accepted our differences as long as I stayed within their limits. And I tried to avoid crossing any lines. Despite our differences, I admired Eli. He was everything our parents wanted, and I saw him as someone I could trust and learn from. I never thought he would do something like this to me. 6 years ago, my world turned upside down because of a huge lie from Eli. I was 20, still in college, trying to build my future. Eli, always our parents' favorite, was the golden child. He was accomplished, responsible, and always in their good books. Meanwhile, I felt like I could never measure up, always living in his shadow. Things changed dramatically with Eli a few months before he told that lie. He asked me to help him cover up something risky he was involved in. Basically, he had made some poor choices and wanted me to keep my mouth shut about it. He was mixed up with some shady people and situations that made me uncomfortable and did not really sit right with me. And he wanted me to lie to our parents about it and give him an alibi. He said it was a family duty, claiming I owed him because he had always supported me. However, something felt wrong, and I did not want to get caught up in his plans. I was trying to keep my own life stable, and lying for him seemed like a clear path to disaster. I told him I would not do it, that I did not want to take any risks. He became furious, acting like my refusal was a huge betrayal. His reaction was intense and even scary. I remember his warning that I would regret crossing him, that he would find a way to make me pay. At the time, I thought it was just drama and was assured he would calm down. Looking back, that moment seemed to set off everything that happened next. Within weeks, Eli started to subtly undermine me. And soon after, he dropped a huge lie on our parents. Then he told our parents that I was selling drugs at college. This was a huge and terrible lie, and it shocked me. I had never even touched drugs, let alone sold them, but Eli said it so convincingly that my parents believed him without question. To this day, I cannot understand why he did it. We were not particularly close, but we were not enemies either. I mean, he is or was my brother. I could never even imagine that he would do something so messed up to me. This is a lie that could actually ruin my future, and in that moment, I genuinely thought it did. My mom, Olivia, reacted like a storm. She did not ask me anything or let me explain. Her anger hit me hard, deeper than I expected. I felt her disappointment and disgust as if I was no longer her son. My dad, Benjamin, was quiet, but his silence hurt just as much. He looked at me with deep disappointment, as if I had ruined all his dreams for me. Meanwhile, Eli stood to the side, expressionless. He did not say a word or acknowledge the chaos he caused. He just watched as my parents kicked me out. That day, they threw me out of the house. I had no choice to explain or even understand what was happening. I left with nothing and had to drop out of college because I could not pay for it without their support. My future felt like it vanished overnight. In the following months, I stayed with friends, moving from couch to couch and doing whatever work I could find. I felt hopeless. I had big dreams and everything I was working towards was just gone. I tried to reach out to my parents, hoping they would see the truth. Every call ended in them turning me away. My mom would hang up before I could say anything. My dad would just repeat his dismissive words, refusing to listen or think they might have been wrong. I kept wishing they would see through Eli's lies and remember who I really was, but they had already decided. In their eyes, I was guilty, and that was the end of it. Time passed, and years went by, and gradually, I learned to rebuild my life from scratch. I saved every dollar from my waitressing job and eventually returned to school part-time. It was tough, but I was determined to show myself that I could shape my future even without their help. During this journey, I met people who became my chosen family, friends who recognized my true self and supported me when my own family had turned away. They helped me see my value, aided my healing, and restored my self-belief. In time, I graduated and found a steady job and started building a life I was proud of. Then I met my perfect fiancée, Mary, 27, female. She was kind and understanding, everything I had been missing. When I shared my family story with her, she did not judge or pity me. Instead, she said that family is not just about blood. I have the right to choose who I let into my life. With her, I felt truly loved and accepted. And for the first time, I began to think that I did not need my parents' approval to feel complete. As our wedding day neared, thoughts of my family returned. I had not seen them in 6 years, and part of me wanted to reach out to give them a chance to make amends. But every time I thought about it, painful memories came rushing back. The rejection, the shame, the way they had discarded me without a second thought. Why should they be part of one of the happiest days of my life when they had not been there during my toughest times? Out of nowhere, I got a message from my mom. It was surprising to see her name pop up on my phone after so many years. The message was brief and straightforward. She told me that my dad was very ill and wanted to see me because he missed me. There was no apology or mention of the past. No acknowledgement of the hurt they caused. Just a vague note about my dad's sickness and his wish to reconnect. She also mentioned that she knew about my upcoming wedding and that both she and my dad wanted to be involved. It felt strange and heavy to know they suddenly wanted to reach out. Where was this concern when I was struggling to get by after they left me? They missed my graduation, my first job, and literally everything else in my life. Now just because my dad is sick, they act like those 6 years did not matter, as if I would easily forgive and forget. It seems so unfair. I might sound selfish, but this caught me by surprise and I did not feel good about it. They were not there for the tough times, but now they wanted to be part of the good moments. A wave of emotions hit me. I thought about my dad being sick and felt guilty. And despite everything, he was still my father, and the idea of him suffering was hard to deal with. I realized that his wish to see me was not just about the wedding. It might be about finding closure or making peace before it was too late, but forgiving them felt impossible. After all they had put me through, the abandonment, the disbelief, the struggles I faced alone, how could I let them back into my life if nothing had happened? After the text, I received a few more texts from relatives I did not even know existed. They claimed that it was wrong of me not to include my parents in my wedding and that whatever happened recently should not matter compared to everything they had done for me throughout my life. This really got on my nerves. It was hilarious how they showed up when I did not invite my parents to my wedding but could not help me out when I was practically homeless. I spoke to my fiancée about this, and she straight away asked me to ignore my relatives' texts because they are irrelevant. She has assured me that she will back whatever choice I make, but she also reminded me that my wedding day should focus on us being happy and us enjoying ourselves and not something from the past that hurts and the unresolved feelings that came with it. She asked me to consider what would make me happy in the long run as well, not just for now. I keep wondering if I push them away now, am I only causing myself more pain, or would allowing them back make things worse for me? I feel conflicted. I have worked hard to create a life without them, finding my way, building my life. And part of me wants to protect that in myself and is scared that letting them back in could ruin everything I have built. But another part feels guilty, especially with my dad's health being a concern. I cannot overlook that he is trying to reach out now, even if it feels like it's too late. I keep thinking that including them in the wedding might be a way to finally move on and leave the past behind. But then I remembered that they bailed on me based on just Eli's words without any proof or anything. I do not know if I can just forget about the past 6 years. My wedding is in a few months, and I am really confused. Should I keep things the way they are, or should I let them back in? To be very honest, I'm not sure if I want them back in my life. So I need some opinions. Ida for refusing to let my parents back into my life after they believed my brother's lies and abandoned me? It has been a few weeks since I posted. I read a few comments, and I am relieved that most people think I am not being unreasonable here. Anyway, I still feel like I'm caught in a whirlwind. After receiving that message from my mom about my dad being sick and wanting to see me, I was really on edge. I thought about blocking their numbers, but I also worried I might regret not giving them a chance. Then unexpectedly, my brother, Eli, reached out. Out of the blue, I got a text from him saying he heard I was getting married. He mentioned knowing about Dad being sick and wanting to fix things before it was too late. It felt like everything had changed in an instant. Eli, the one who had caused me so much pain, was now talking about family and healing. He expressed how much he missed me and emphasized the need for our family to come together. He said I had always been part of his life and that he wanted us to find peace. But all I could think about was his betrayal that had ruined everything. I was already unsettled by my mom's message, and Eli's text only added to my confusion. What did he expect from me? Did he really think I could just forgive him because of a few nice words? He did not apologize or acknowledge the problems he caused. Instead, he kept talking about how family was the most important thing, especially with Dad's health declining. It all felt insincere, like he was only reaching out now because of his own guilt. I could not help but wonder if there was another reason behind his message, something I was not seeing. He had been so cold and calculating when he lied about me, and I could not shake the feeling that this was more about his image than anything else. The thought of seeing Eli again after so many years felt like reopening an old wound. Still, the fact that my dad was sick made me feel something different. I felt bad for wanting to shut them out when there was a chance he wanted to make amends. But every time I thought about forgiving them, every single thing from the past came rushing back even stronger. I questioned if they would ever recognize the problems they caused for me. The idea of them at my wedding seemed almost ridiculous, as if they could just show up like proud parents after all this time. I kept thinking about my fiancé's advice to focus on my long-term happiness. My wedding should be a joyful occasion, not a source of stress. But how could I find peace while holding on to all this anger? Could I really move on if I never let them back into my life? I could not picture Eli sitting in the front row as if nothing had happened. It felt wrong to even think about including them after everything they had done. I chose to respond to Eli, but I kept it brief. I told him I needed time to think and was not sure how I felt about him or our parents attending the wedding. I mentioned that I was not sure about how I felt about them given everything that has happened between us. I do not know why, but I hoped he would understand. But his reply was just another message about family with no sign of regret or acknowledgement of his actions. He even had the nerve to say he understood my feelings, but hoped I would see the bigger picture and let the past go for Dad's sake. After his response, I felt more confused than ever. I thought taking time to reflect on my feelings would help, but it only made things tougher. Relatives I had not heard from in years started reaching out and telling me to let go of my anger and warning that I would regret it if I did not reconnect with my family soon. It seemed like they only knew part of the story and assumed I was being unreasonable. Their comments stung, but I realized they had no idea what I had been through. This only added to my confusion and frustration. A few days later, I received another message from my mom giving me more information about Dad's health. She did not share many details, but it was clear he was not doing well. She mentioned that he had always loved me and wanted us to be a family again. It felt odd, as if she was trying to make me feel guilty instead of apologizing or recognizing my pain. I questioned whether she understood the effects of their actions. I spent many hours thinking about what I would say if I saw them again. I pictured telling them about the years of struggle, the nights of feeling utterly alone, and the betrayal I still carried. But deep down, I knew it would not change anything. They would likely find a way to justify their behavior or dismiss my feelings, saying I was being dramatic. Still, the thought of my dad being unwell weighed on me. Was I wrong to hold on to my anger when he might be facing something serious? My fiancé has been a great support, reminding me that my feelings are important and that I can set my own boundaries. She promised to stand by me no matter what I chose. I feel fortunate to have someone who truly understands my pain and does not pressure me to forgive just to keep up appearances. She emphasized that the choice is mine, but I can feel the heaviness of it all. As the wedding approaches and the pressure is increasing, I'm caught between wanting to let my parents and Eli back into my life for some peace and protecting myself from further hurt. My dad's illness complicates things even more. I worry that if I do not allow them back in now, I might regret it later. Yet, I also fear that opening the door could lead to more heartbreak. Eli's message keeps replaying in my mind, making me wonder if I'm being too harsh. But then I recall that he never showed any remorse or acknowledged the pain he caused. How can I move on when the past still feels so fresh? I'm left questioning whether forgiving them would truly help me heal or just reopen old wounds. My wedding should be a joyful occasion, but right now it is clouded by these unresolved emotions. I am at a point where I do not know if letting them back in would bring me closure or just more suffering. So here I am, still uncertain and still pondering, would allowing them back in my life be the right decision, or am I just setting myself up for disappointment? Hey! So it's been about 3 weeks since I last posted. A few days after the last update, I finally hit my limit and decided to visit my family. After weeks of putting it off, I could not ignore the fact that my dad was seriously ill. Part of me wanted to keep my distance, but I felt guilty, and I knew I would regret not seeing him one last time if he did not get better. It was an hour-long drive over to their house. And during the drive, it was really hard to stay calm. But I kept telling myself I was doing this for my dad, not for my mom or Eli, but that did not make it any easier. I was scared to even see the house again. I mean, I had so many memories there. I spent all my life up until 6 years back in that house. I was forced to leave it and now I felt almost forced to visit it again. When I arrived at the house, it felt strange. It had been so long, yet everything looked almost the same. To my surprise, my dad was the only one there, sitting in the chair by the window. I barely recognized him. My mom was not there yet, which was a bit of a relief, but I knew the confrontation was still coming. Seeing him so weak and tired broke my heart. He looked so small, and I just wanted to hug him and cry. I could only think of how much time was wasted. We could have spent so much time together if only Eli did not pull that stunt. I would not have been so shocked that Dad stayed. If I had the chance to be by his side all these years, I would have been able to help him in some way or the other, but that chance was taken away from me by my older brother. Dad looked happy and sad to see me. For the first time in as long as I can remember, I did not see my dad as the authoritative figure I always tried to impress. He was just a dad, simply a person who had made mistakes. He sincerely apologized. He was very straightforward about the fact that he regretted not reaching out to me. He said he had not reached out all these years because he felt ashamed. He said that by the time he realized that Eli lied, it was too late, and he thought I would never look back and forgive him. He also said that he had thought of reaching out to me multiple times as he wrote several letters that he never sent, and he apologized so many times. Hearing him express that made me feel weirdly sad, but also relieved. There was no talk of family obligations or expectations. No pressure to forgive him or forget about whatever had happened. Just him taking accountability for his mistakes and saying he was sorry. It was overwhelming to take in. Part of me wanted to shout and tell him how hard it was for me, but I could not. I just hugged him and told him it was all right. I really forgave him. It was like I was never mad at him. He was only left with regret, and I did not want to make it any worse. I just wanted to be by his side. My mom walked in, and the atmosphere changed immediately. She entered as if she was in control, acting like she had not done anything wrong. She did not apologize or acknowledge the pain they caused me. Instead, she treated my feelings like a petty issue, suggesting I should move on for the family. It seemed like she believed she was the victim because I had distanced myself for so long. She did not understand my dad's perspective at all. I tried to keep my cool, but anger kept rising inside me. When I expressed how hurt I was about everything that had happened and how I made ends meet in the last 6 years, she dismissed it by saying things like, "Oh, we thought we were doing what was best for the family." She refused to take any accountability for her actions and kept shifting the focus, making it seem like I was at fault for not contacting them over the years. I noticed my dad looked uneasy, but he stayed silent, maybe because he was tired of Mom and our never-ending arguments. My mom continued to push, trying to make it seem like my choice to stay away was unjustified. It was infuriating, and I felt a familiar sense of powerlessness from my childhood as if my voice did not count. I asked about Elijah and where he was, but they said he could not make it. It felt odd since he had reached out discussing family and forgiveness. Yet, when it was time to confront the situation, he was absent. Deep down, I was not really surprised. I figured he would stay away from any real conflict, even if he's the one who started everything. He had created this chaos and left everyone else to deal with it. After the visit, I felt exhausted instead of the calm I wanted. I sat quietly while my mom lectured me, thinking she could change my mind about forgiving them. However, I realized I did not need her approval and did not have to fit into a family that had let me go so easily. Before I left, my dad asked me to return soon. He sounded desperate and looked sad. I was not sure if I would come back, but I could not say goodbye forever. I hugged him and promised to keep in touch, asking him to reach out whenever he wanted or needed to. On the drive back to my house, I could not keep my mind straight. I felt conflicted. My dad's apology felt genuine and meant more to me than I thought, but my mom's attitude and Elijah's absence left me feeling bitter, bringing back the pain I had tried to forget. I wanted to forgive them and move on, but I did not know how to do it without losing my sanity. I forgave Dad. I have nothing against him anymore. But Mom and Eli, I'm not quite sure about them. My wedding is in a month, and I am unsure if I will invite them there or even keep them in my life. I'm sure I will stay in touch with Dad. I might invite him, but like I said, Mom and Eli, I'm not quite sure about them. Maybe it's better to move on without them, keeping a safe distance for my own peace of mind. It is tough, especially knowing my dad may not have much time left. I feel a mix of guilt, anger, and love, and I am still uncertain if I will ever find the closure I seek. I honestly do not really know what my next step will be. I will give an update if anything happens. Hey guys! It's been a long time since I gave an update. It has been 6 months and so many things have happened. I would have given an update sooner, but I just needed to process everything. Maria and I had a small private wedding. After everything with my family, we wanted a peaceful day focused on us. I decided to invite my dad and mom. My dad was very sick, and I knew I would regret it if he could not attend. It was easier to invite him because he had made an effort with me, and we were okay. He acknowledged his mistakes, and I could understand that he truly wished things had been different. I chose not to invite Eli. It was not to hurt him. I just could not trust him not to create more drama. After the wedding, Eli texted me upset about not being included. I told him I simply did not want him there and then blocked his number. That felt like a relief, as if I had closed a painful chapter. Unfortunately, almost 2 months after the wedding, my dad passed away. He was not in pain. He passed away peacefully with both me and mom by his side. I was grateful for the time I had with him, even if it was brief. In his last days, he seemed softer and more like the dad I remembered. Sometimes we would sit in silence, and it felt comforting. I was able to say goodbye, and I will always appreciate that. My dad's funeral was one of the toughest days of my life. It was a simple gathering with just family and a few close friends. I wanted to honor him and celebrate his life. Eli was invited as well, but we thought he would not show up because he never even reached out to us after Dad's death. But on the day of the funeral, he burst in, demanding to know why he was not at the wedding, making everything about him. It turned chaotic. His yelling drowned out the nice words being said about my dad. I felt embarrassed and hurt. Mom had reached her limit. She was already struggling with losing Dad. My parents were high school sweethearts. They had spent over 40 years together, and it was clearly the worst thing that had ever happened to her, and Eli's selfishness pushed her over the edge. She stood up and told him to leave. She said he was disrespecting Dad's memory and that she never wanted to see him again. The room was filled with tension. Everyone was stunned into silence, and I felt mixed emotions. Part of me was relieved that Mom finally confronted him, but I was also anxious about the consequences. Eli stormed out, complaining about how unfair it was, but I thought it was necessary to protect the day from his drama. It felt like a turning point for both my mom and me. Even though we were not close, we both agreed that Dad deserved better than a chaotic funeral. Strangely, this experience brought my mom and me a bit closer. Our relationship is not great, and there is still some tension, but we have managed to be civil. She has not apologized for her part in everything, but she is respecting my boundaries now. And she said she would like to have me in her life. We may not be close, but it is peaceful. And that is enough for now, baby steps, I guess. Being in the position I am in right now feels weird. I once thought I needed a big moment of forgiveness, but now I see I just needed to let go. Losing my dad was hard, but it brought me closure. I can cherish the good memories of him and leave the rest behind. Regarding Eli, I do not intend to reconnect with him. I have realized that not everyone understands the problems they create can affect people, and that is fine. I do not need him in my life anymore. Now I am concentrating on my life with Maria and building something positive with her. Lastly, I want to express my gratitude to everyone for their support during this tough time. Your kind words and understanding have meant so much to me. Sharing my story has been a relief, and knowing that people care has made a difference. I appreciate everyone who took the time to read my updates and share their thoughts. It truly helps to know I am not alone in this journey. Thank you for being there for me.